Greetings. So, my name is Tisha Hillman, and I am a root worker, oracle, attorney, and rich auntie. Rich auntie is available at www.consciouscreations.live for reproductive wellness. Now, I made a comment on, and shout out to Woo Baby. I think she's from the hometown. I think she's from Florida. But she made a post about basically when you're parenting and projections that sometimes the parents can put on children, and whether or not men or women or both, right? But project things onto their children and treat their children a certain way based on how they feel about the other parent. And I commented because I'm just like, as a family law attorney. So for those of you who don't know me, I've been practicing family. I'm now root worker, oracle, attorney, rich auntie, and also the relationship oracle. But I commented and I said, after 13 years of practice, unfortunately, the thing that I've actually bear witness to through court documents and trials and litigation and all that kind of stuff is more times than not in those particular situations, it's actually women who were projecting things onto the child. Now, this could be whatever it may be, right? It could be from, he looked just like that. He looked just like his daddy, or she looked just like her daddy. It's usually like that sort of energy has been, generally what I've seen, aimed more toward the boys. And with the girls, what I've seen is more so projecting insecurities and abandonment and childhood wounds of the mother onto the child. That's in 13 years of practice. That is what I've seen. And I've represented men and women, right? But in terms of how it plays out in court and what you actually see in the text messages and the documents, and you get what I'm saying? And in the testimony and all of the things, this is why I make this video. Because I think I started, let me say it this way. So I guess it was like 2023, 24, I made a conscious decision that I was no longer going to practice family law. Because most of the people who know me, I started my career in 2013, right? And when I started, I was solely doing family law. And eventually I evolved and started doing other stuff. But again, like, and even in all of those things, like, and I'm paying attention and seeing how the facts play out in cases, because a lot of times, like, from the perspective of social media, like, people aren't really involved, right? Most of the people that are commenting aren't really involved, on a big enough scale to have a significant, data pool to, you know what I mean? To see both sides and to see the whole thing play out, right? And that's one of the things that I'm very grateful for about the vantage point, as an attorney, being able to speak about different things from, having the level of awareness of being able to see intricately how the system is woven together on how it, it is what it is, right? And so this is why I talk so much about speaking kindness and speaking wellness into yourself, about healing yourself and showing yourself love genuinely, right? Because, we've been sold so much, literally, right? We've been sold so much. Our consciousness, our bodies, our emotions, our energy, our labor, right? We've been sold so much. And in order to actually project the reality of someone else into existence, to birth someone else's reality into existence. And one of the ways that happens is literally by pulling at the heartstrings and getting people very emotional about certain things, right? And then polarizing the energy, right? And what happens when the energy is then polarized is that the poles aren't able to come together to consciously create. Do you see what I'm saying? And that is naturally what we do, right? As we are creators, that is not, we naturally create. But when so much of our energy is being extracted for commercial purposes, that is slavery. You understand? I wrote a book about this. It's called The Chapter 13 Plan: Spiritual Recovery, Reclamation, and Reorganization of My Divine Birthright from a Morally Bankrupt System. It is available now on my website at www.thetishahillman.com. Now, the reason I wrote that book is because these are the things that I was witnessing. These are the things that I was seeing. These are the experiences that I was actually living in. You see? And what I mean when I say that is seeing, of course, the large, on the, you know, looking at the way that things are playing out in the consciousness of humanity, just in the consciousness, generally speaking. And so it's being able to see and being able to see. You know what I mean? And so this is why I make these videos and share this information, because, you know, I want folks to really understand and understand, more importantly, right? To understand about how their energy, you know, how their energy is being used. Because healing really does happen at home. It's self-love, all of it really does happen at home. From, like, let me give you an example. So I made a video that's on my Conscious Creations Live YouTube channel, talking about there's a tick. I found a tick on Oreo. Now, let me understand. So at first, I thought it was a skin tag. Like, you know, like they're going away now because I use my soft release oil. But anyway, so I thought it was a skin tag. And then, you know, because I you know, rubbing it and moving my hands across it and all kinds of stuff, trying to figure out, you know, what is this? What is this? So after it didn't move for several days, then I'm just like, okay, this looks like it may be a skin tag, but I'm still just kind of keeping an eye on it. So the other day, we're in the AM. Let me make sure. What you got, buddy? Let me see. Let mama see. Okay. All right. You're okay. You're okay. He be eating off the ground, so I have to just check. So the thing that I thought was a skin tag had gotten puffy and filled with fluid. So I called the vet, and so, you know, got in the car, you know, took him to the vet. But before I took him to the vet, when I brought him back inside the house, I gave him a slice of cucumber, because I, you know, understand that even if it is a skin tag, that's speaking to, you know, an imbalance in the digestive system. And so part of the way to balance that, or some of the things that you can do to balance that, is cucumber slices, fresh cucumber slices, pumpkin seeds. Right. So cucumber slices, pumpkin seeds, and today I gave him dandelion, like fresh dandelion leaves from the garden. But anyway, so bring him back in the house, and I give him the cucumber, and when he puts his head down to pick up the cucumber, the thing falls off of his head. Okay. Right. So now I scoop it up. I get a card and put it in a Ziploc bag, or in a you know, in a plastic bag with a, you know, a lock on it, whatever. So put it in a bag. We take it to the vet. Now, as I'm in the car on the way to the vet, I open the bag because I'm curious about this thing, right? So I open the bag and I'm like, it has legs and it's moving. And so that's when I realized it was a tick, right? So I'm like, and that's the moment when I understood and understood on a different level, full as a tick, right? So the tick had gotten so full from sucking from Oreo, right? From sucking from his head, that it got so full and it fell off. But anyway, so the tick has now been laid to rest. It is what it is. But now, in terms of moving forward, now we're speaking, now I'm keeping an eye on it to see, okay, the ticks, because sometimes what happens is with the tick, part of the body of the tick can stay stuck in the skin because it has to literally burrows a hole. Like there's a, you know what I mean? Like it burrows a hole in the skin in order to attach itself to suck the life force from the host. You understand? And so now it's a little like, scabby as it heals and stuff like that. So today I put like on some vitamin E on my finger and just put a drop of vitamin E on it. And like I said, I fed him the dandelion leaves and stuff like that. So I'm helping him internally and externally, you see. And so, yeah, so one of the things that this brings me back to, really walking in, or seeing more from the vantage point of soft power. And because so often, we're being called to focus on war, right? On conflict. Like it's literally baked in the pie, right? The war and the conflict and all of the things. Yeah. And in that whole process, sometimes you can miss the beauty of just being present in nature, just being and like literally just being. And this is why I made a video on my was it the Conscious Creations? It's either my Conscious Creations live YouTube channel or the Relationship Oracle YouTube channel. But either way, I made a video talking about the importance of, melanated so-called black women, right? To go on making sure that we're getting sun, really, really, really feeding ourselves. And that means on every level, right? And so that means cucumbers, right? The reason the tick fell off the cucumber, the reason the cucumber caused the tick to fall off is because the cucumber has structured water, so it has more hydrogen atoms, right, in the cucumber. And so it takes longer for the cells to actually break down the fluids in it. And so it stays in your system and increases your circulation. You understand what I'm saying? Whereby sometimes the energy within can get very stagnant because, of whatever it is, right? Sedentary, not really moving your body, not moving your body with intention, whatever the case, right? But what it does is it hydrates the cells in such a way as to literally to feed them on a structural level. And so that level of hydration is what caused the tick to get full and to fall off, because literally right? So same thing. So internally, really speaking to your cells, making sure that what you're putting on your skin matters. It matters. I started a whole company called Conscious Creations. ConsciousCreations.live is the website. With that understanding or understanding. And so it's so important because your body, your skin, your melanin is it's a conductor of electricity. As a copper colored being.